Hey, all right. They deserve that one. This is one of those nights where they get a good woo out of me. Congratulations to Utah Hockey Club tonight. Winners by a fashion of 5-2 over the Buffalo Sabres. Welcome to After the Buzzer. My name is Keith Schertz. Run things around here at Hive State Hockey. If this is your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. Feel free to participate in the chat. There's some really great people in there. And if you're returning back again, like my friend Car Wash, who's always there, which I just appreciate, man. That is so cool. That's just really cool of you, man. It makes it easier for me to want to keep doing this. So thanks for being such a good support to the channel. And I congratulate you on your exceedingly fine taste. That is what we do here at Hive State Hockey. We talk about the Utah Hockey Club. Used to be a play-by-play guy. Used to do a little bit of work around the BYU and Utah Valley University hockey programs. But now, I'm just here. We talk about the Utah Hockey Club. I can't believe Utah has a team still, but here we are. This is the place for Utah hockey clubs, and this is the place where you win by 5-2 over the Buffalo Sabres. A game that they needed to take care of business in. Doing all the scoreboard watching. All the things that you didn't want to necessarily have happen tonight. Okay? Here they are. Calgary was losing late in the third period to the New Jersey Devils, and then in the final 4 minutes, the Devils gave up 2 goals to the Calgary Flames. The Flames get 2 points tonight when they were 4 minutes away from getting no points. Then St. Louis and Vancouver play each other. That's a game that we were, obviously both those teams are in front of Utah. We need them to come back to us. Obviously, one of them was going to score. On this stream, we're a little more afraid of St. Louis getting in there. Yeah. And one of the things that we want to see is St. Louis tonight is what the rooting guide was technically looking for, though 2 points for either team would have been acceptable. Here's the thing. The worst result was for it to go to overtime. That game goes to overtime when Vancouver scores with 2.7 seconds left. 2.7 seconds left, and Brock Besser finds the back of the net with the empty net. The empty net behind him, they had an extra attacker for the Vancouver Canucks. Canucks send it to overtime. So the Canucks lose, but they get the loser point tonight. So in a game where one of them was going to get points, we ended up having both of them get points. So, crap. So, with all of kind of the worst happening in terms of scoreboard watching, the one thing that had to happen was Utah needed to find a way to grind out a win against the lowly Buffalo Sabres, which they were able to do tonight, but it was looking dicey for a little bit. After the shorthanded goal, and it was 2-2, was one of those, I can't believe that we're struggling so bad, but Dylan Guenther sticks with it. He gets the game-winning goal. Again, the Gretzky of Zion. A man whom which they will rename Monument Valley for. Dylan freaking Guenther. Another game-winning goal for him, and that's really the story of the night, is the youth. If the season was about seeing what the youth would give you in big moments and in big games, you got to be pretty happy with what you're getting out of these guys to this point. Scott, I see you're in the chat. Welcome again tonight, Scott. It's good to see you back here again. Appreciate having you tune in tonight with our the rest of our friends here. Scott, I was surprised in a little bit to see Vejmelka, but it seems like they're very content to go with Karel Vejmelka. They're going to just go with Veggie. They're going to stick with Veggie. They're going to see it go all the way. But again, this was a game that they definitely needed to win. They couldn't drop this. They couldn't give up any points. A loser point tonight would have been a really bad result. So playing your best goalie in a game where you definitely got to get points, that part makes sense. But again, I believe that makes 13 straight starts for Karel Vejmelka. That is being a workhorse. And the question is how long can this continue before his play takes a dip? Thus far, he's kind of hanging in there. Obviously, the game against Edmonton, everybody looked bad, so I don't know if that was necessarily on Vejmelka. But the truth is still the truth. And just if you play and have that kind of workload, that makes it more difficult. The good news is that Vejmelka, the attractive part about his goalkeeping style is that he is such a active piece. He's such an athlete in the net and plays so actively and plays with athleticism. He plays the position as an athlete. He's not a positioning guy like Connor Ingram. He's not a, reduce how many rebounds there are. He tries to do all of the technique pieces. He does. But he really plays with his athleticism. So I think there's a chance that he can hold up a little bit better, but we'll see what will happen with that. So yeah, Vejmelka. Did he get an assist? Did they credit him an assist on one of those empty netters? They did, on the Sergachev empty netter. Vejmelka gets his first assist of the year. Great bit. Great tidbit there from Scott. There you go. I love that. Is that the first assist by a goalie in franchise history? It's possible. It's possible. I could look it up, but who cares? But pretty cool that he got an assist on that empty netter. Pretty weird how both the empty netters tonight were really, really very strange. They were almost, one of them was definitely an own goal by Buffalo. And then the other one was definitely an own goal by Rasmus Dahlin, because had he just let the puck go, it would have gone to the opposite corner. But he doesn't glove it down properly. It goes through his glove, and then it goes into the back of the net. Bad for what's supposed to be an all-world player, Rasmus Dahlin. Not one of his proudest hockey moments in his career, I would assume. So Utah does a great job. And really, to me, the story of tonight, guys, the biggest thing that I think that we should feel good about is, again, just setting the table. If the point of the 2024-25 inaugural hockey season by the Utah Hockey Club, if the entire point is that this was supposed to be an opportunity to give the young guys games that were needed and big and played with some intention where they needed to get results and performances later in the season, tonight, the performances they got out of Logan Cooley. Obviously, Logan Cooley was named the number one star of the game. I think he probably was the best player in the game tonight, given all the things that he did. He scored his 19th goal. The assist from Nick Schmaltz on that was very well done. A lot of high skill in that play. Meanwhile, Cooley, battling and setting the tone, and the amount of shifts that he just kept stacking on top of each other, and creating such great looks for this team in those circumstances. And yeah, him and Nick Schmaltz. Nick Schmaltz leads the forwards in time on ice, but Cooley played 19 minutes, 23 seconds tonight. He was out there in all circumstances on the power play. He was out there on a couple penalty kills. Logan Cooley continues to develop into the 1C of the future. It'll be interesting to see what that contract extension looks like this summer. I believe this summer is when the first opportunity comes to send to create a contract extension for Logan Cooley, and I believe the rules are that he can get an 8-year extension, and I wouldn't expect it to be anything less than 8 years. The question is, how much money are they going to want to do for that? One other quick note, just things to think about. While they're in the middle of a playoff race, There's like $1 million on the line for Logan Cooley right now. He's at 19 goals on the season. When you get to your 20th goal, Logan Cooley will get $250,000 as part of his entry-level performance bonuses that he gets as an entry-level contract player right now. So that is an A-level bonus. If he gets to 20 goals, he just needs one more to get that. So Logan Cooley's next goal will net him $250,000. He is at 31 assists on the season. Let me just take a quick look. He didn't get any assists tonight, correct? No assists tonight. So no assists tonight for Logan Cooley, but if he gets to 45 assists this year, 35 assists this year, Logan Cooley gets another $250,000. He's at 31 assists, so he needs 4 more assists to get there. And then 19 plus 31, if you add those together, total points for Logan Cooley right now is at 50 points on the season. If he finds a way to get to 60 points, so if he's about a point a game player for the rest of the season in this stretch run, that'll get him to 60 points. That is another $250,000 for Logan Cooley. And then there's a couple other things that he can potentially try to get to. His points per game. There's other bonuses, but really those are the 3 hallmarks that he's so close to, and is potentially going to collect another $750,000 if he gets it. Apparently, they're leaning towards Mammoth as the team name for next year. Scott, so am I. Tusks up. Why not? My understanding on the latest update that I've read about, or I believe it was Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, the podcast. Elliot Friedman, who's like if you're new to hockey, he's like the Adrian Wojnarowski, who's not in the NBA anymore, but he's the top insider reporter in the NHL. And anyway, Elliot Friedman, he I think had indicated at one point that they're going to reveal what the team mascot and branding and uniform and all of it. They're going to have the full rollout of the team at the NHL draft this summer. So the question of when that is going to happen, initially they had said maybe around now would be when that would be rolled out. Looks like they've changed their mind on that. Looks like they will be announcing it when they do their pick in the first round of the NHL draft. That is the latest I've heard on that. And if it's Mammoth, then great. I would think that Mammoth won when they did the voting. Had a chance to do the voting at Delta Center on that. It was a good experience. But yeah, so, well, I don't know if it was a good experience, but it was kind of fun to do it. So here's the thing. With Logan Cooley being close to all these performance bonuses, but in addition to all of that, we want him down the stretch as fans, as an organization, in terms of the development of this 20-year-old into being a 1C, one of the 10 best players in hockey. As he builds his way to that, tonight he really led the way. 13 games remaining. If he can go out and get 10 points for this team over the last 13 games, they are going to be in a position to make that run to the playoffs if he produces at that level. Dylan Guenther coming up with the big 5-on-5 goal. Dylan Guenther, we all know that he is a special power play player. And one of the things that he's going to need to develop as he's a young player, he's 21 years old, one of the things that's got to happen is, in addition to continuing to produce when they're on the power play, he also needs to become a better 5-on-5 player. And so that'll be interesting. But it was nice to see him find a way to get a goal in 5-on-5 scenarios. And then Sergachev, obviously, a lot of leadership coming out of him tonight, and a lot of good work and effort put in by Sergachev. There was the really awkward short-handed goal. Sean Durzi, it's just a little rough right now for Sean Durzi. Like, if we're being fair, like, he's coming back. It's a little bit rough for Durzi. And that pass that he made, trying to get through the neutral zone, he tries to find Cooley, tries to find Lawson Krause. He gets neither of them. It's turned over in the neutral zone, and we're going the other way and just hopping right down the throat of Karel Vejmelka as Ryan McLeod. So, shorthanded goal, that was not a great moment. But the game-winning goal by Gunther was really good. The skill by Logan Cooley to finish on the Nick Schmaltz creation, that was a really great assist tonight by Schmaltzy. Clayton Keller came up with an assist tonight, a little tip to try to keep it into the zone, his 52nd assist of the year. Other than getting that little touch in the tip and kind of sending it the other way, which allowed for the chance for Logan Cooley to score, that was kind of it for for Clayton Keller tonight. I thought it wasn't a great Clayton Keller night. In some ways, my bar may be too high for him, but these are the games where Clayton Keller should really feast and lead down the stretch of the season. So that's what they'll need. Interestingly enough, the two games they've played against Buffalo this year, both games ended in a 5-2 score in favor of the Utah Hockey Club. They have never lost to the Buffalo Sabres. So Buffalo continues to stack season after season after season of not making the playoffs, continuing to draft high-level players. Those players become frustrated, get drafted, or traded to somewhere else, and then go on to lead teams to the playoffs and in some cases win the cup. Really would suck to be a Buffalo Sabres fan. So sorry for all you Sabres fans out there. So, okay, big moment. Now, we had said 2 nights ago that going into the final 15 games, they needed to go 10-5 down the stretch of their final 15 games. They are now 2-1 in those games. They beat Vancouver. They lost to Edmonton. They win against Buffalo tonight. So 2-1 in that quest. If we stay true to our word. The goal is to try to get to 91 points. I believe if they get to 91 points, they have a very good chance of making the playoffs. So the margin for error is very thin here. They've got 13 games remaining. They must go 9-4 in those games at minimum to have a chance to make the playoffs in their inaugural season. They must go 9-4. They will not catch St. Louis, who's the team now. They are the team to catch. They've got to catch St. Louis coming down the stretch here, and the only way they're going to get to St. Louis is to find a way to win 9 out of their last 13 games. There's a very good chance that they'll be right in it if they can do that. This is, of course, needing basically all the other foes around them, Calgary, Vancouver, and St. Louis, to, split their points. So we don't need very many loser points coming out of Vancouver or St. Louis or Calgary, and we need them basically to win half of their games. And if they do that, there's a really good chance that that Utah can find a way to get there. So. But Utah cannot play 500 hockey of their points and the opportunity to get points. The Utah Hockey Club have to. From these final 13 games, they're now at 75 points, if I have that right. Let me just check. Yep. Nope. Yes. No, they're at 73 points. So they're at 73 points, 13 games remaining. They have got to find a way to squeeze 18 points out of their final 13 games. So that is a hard thing to do. It'll be a tough test, but it will be the thing which will determine whether or not they get in. They're going to have to find a way to get those things together. From a very strange standpoint, so that is the playoff hunt. From a very strange very strange standpoint, tonight's goal that was scored on the empty net on a delayed penalty. They already had the empty net. Stenlin high sticks. And then the puck is sent back down to the other end of the ice by Buffalo. It goes off of mid-ice off the sideboards and bounces back and goes all the way down the ice and into the net. It was like one of the weirdest, flukiest empty net goals that has happened in a while. And I think the question of this happens on occasion where teams put the puck into their own net on a delayed penalty. That's not super rare. We will see that again. I believe Utah actually did it against St. Louis in their very first preseason game in team history again in Des Moines. So they played a exhibition game in the preseason. They played the preseason game in Des Moines, Iowa against the St. Louis Blues. And I think this is exactly what happened, is that Utah put a puck into their own net on a delayed penalty. So, and technically speaking, I think that's the first goal that this franchise scored. So not a great way to start things off, but good thing it didn't actually really count. So that's great. So really a weird goal. And then the fact of the matter is that the player who was on the delay penalty was the player who then got credited for the goal. So I'm certain that it's happened before, but it's probably been a very long time since a player scored a goal and then went to the box at sort of the same instant. There's been players who've gone to the box because they scored a goal and then get in a fight right after. But scoring a goal on the delay penalty is something. That is something that doesn't happen very often. What a crazy moment. And then the second Sergachev goal, really, that was a really interesting, moment. Hey, the other thing I thought was interesting tonight, they had said, so Sergachev had his 13th goal of the season, and then he scored the 14th, he had his 12th goal of the season and then 13th goal of the season on the empty net. It technically goes in as a shorthanded goal, which is crazy. And both teams gave up shorties tonight. But Sergachev on his non-empty net goal, he's had 13 goals. 10 of them have all come outside of 30 feet this season, which is great. You love to see pressure from the blue line, sending pucks to the net and finding a way to get the puck in the back. Sergachev is having a great season. That continues to be a really fine acquisition. I think anytime you can find a way to get your hands on a top level player, you got to do it. And so that's one of the great things that we love seeing tonight out of the assistant captain now for Utah Hockey Club, who's made waves because he gives eggs to his coworkers. Anyway, Sergachev, 2 goals tonight. Continues to play just tons of minutes and plays with relative discipline. He's been a bright spot for Utah Hockey Club this season, and there's no question about it. So, okay, that's kind of the main broad strokes of tonight. Oh, there's one other one, and I think there's one last thing that we have to talk about in terms of, we're turning the temperature up. We're finding more out about our young guys. I think you can be really happy with what you're getting out of Cooley and really happy what you're getting out of, Gunther and, Jack McBain, I think, is finding out more and more about how he can help a hockey team find a way to win. It's been interesting to watch the statistics of Michael Kesselring go down based on his partnerships. Obviously, players that are playing with Mikhail Sergachev, they tend to produce a lot more points. They tend to do better out there. And tonight, Kesselring only got 14 minutes. All the other guys on the blue line played at least 19 minutes of ice time, or at least 17 minutes of ice time. Ian Cole did that, but Kesselring is getting less minutes. He's on the third pairing. He's not being used on the penalty kill. He doesn't get used on the power play. And it's interesting just to see because he was developing and coming along. Tonight, it was a really interesting comment. I don't want to pick a fight here, but I'll just say this. Usually the home broadcast team for Utah Hockey Club do not say anything particularly interesting in terms of controversy. Let's just put it that way. But if someone's the guy who has interesting things to say, it's Dominic Moore. And Dominic Moore tonight, he said that he felt that Michael Kesselring, a 6th round pick, who's been a nice surprise this year, that Michael Kesselring is a better player than Owen Power for Buffalo. And that really knocked me back a little bit. I want to look at the stats and figure out what's going on as it relates to that. That doesn't seem right. I think if we could trade, I think we would probably take that trade if contract considerations weren't, problematic in that circumstance. But we're talking about the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 NHL draft. He's big. His game's coming along. I don't know. It's just fascinating. I thought that was an interesting take, that he felt that Kesselring is better than Owen Power. Fascinating moment out of Dominic Moore tonight. I would love to pick his brain and get a chance to talk to him a little bit about that. But I thought that was an interesting take from Dominic Moore tonight during the broadcast. In a circumstance in which they just don't typically have spicy things to say. It's usually just like, Ryan Smith and look at how great Utah is, and mostly complimentary of the other teams, and they don't make value statements like, that was a cheap shot or anything like that. Anyway, no, Scott, he said, I know that Owen Power was a number 1 overall pick, right? But Michael Kesselring is a better player. So, I don't know. Deal with that. Process that how you will. Kesselring's 3 years older. He was a 6th round pick. He's had a nice year. It's come along. But again, when Marino and Dursey were out, Kesselring played all the top-line minutes with Sergachev and basically held his own. I actually think that speaks more to what Mikhail Sergachev can be than what Michael Kesselring is, if that makes sense. I think Sergachev unlocks a lot of extra things out of his D partner, and I think Sergachev learned how to do that from Victor Hedman, and his ability to do that is going to get better and better as his career continues to go on. I mean, Sergachev is still kind of coming into his prime. Defensemen usually their prime comes a little later than forwards, and so anyway, I think it's an interesting thing to think about. I was surprised at the take and the candor, and I applaud it because I actually had to sit back. I chuckled during the broadcast, and then I began debating whether or not he was right about that. The truth is, of course, we don't watch tons and tons of Buffalo because they are not a very fun team to watch overall. But the question is, I mean, if you're Bill Armstrong and Buffalo calls and says, we want Michael Kessering, we'll give you Owen Power, is the answer in any way, shape, or form not going to be, yeah, we'll do that right now. We're sending our private jet out to pick up Owen Power right now. Like, that's crazy. Anyway, I was very surprised. Just very surprised. Very surprised. It was good. So, Dominic Moore, I applaud you for your awesome take during the game. We need more of that. Say the interesting thing. Give him some fun during the game. Okay. I wanted to play a quick game here with the team in the chat here. If you're here, if not, but I just wanted to say, look, I got looking at some of the stats. I like advanced stats. If you're familiar with expected goals, the number is expected goals. Expected goals take into their evaluation the shot chances you've had, high danger, the shots that you've had relative to where you were against the goalie, and then they put a value on what that shot's chance to score is, and then they give you an expected goal number. So if you get a shot right in front of net and there's no defenders around you, they might say you ought to score the goal in that circumstance. So they figure out all those things, and then they assign a point on every shot what the expected goal total should be. The question I want to ask you, just because I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun, and I know there's a lag between my speaking and it coming up on the show, so I'll give us enough time on this. The question is, without looking it up, on evolvinghockey.com, which Utah Hockey Club player leads the team in individual expected goals in their inaugural season? Which Utah Hockey Club player, in all circumstances, 5-on-5, power play, penalty kill, like all scenarios, all positions, which player has the highest number of expected goals? So obviously, because I'm asking the question, it's somebody that surprised me a little bit. Yeah. Good guesses, guys. I appreciate that. Yeah, Dylan Guenther, Clayton Keller. The answer is the leader in individual expected goals right now. He's 29th in the National Hockey League. It's Barrett Hayton. Barrett Hayton, according to the advanced stats, should be leading the Utah Hockey Club in goals this season. He has 26.02 individual expected goals. He has only scored 17 on the year. That deficit, right, kind of tells us that his level of finishing, his ability to actually go and goal snipe and find a way to get the puck in the back of the net, that there's that gap shows that there's a problem with some of the finishing from Barrett Hayton. This has been true for a couple previous seasons too for Barrett Hayton. But this year, 17 goals scored, The expected goal number is 26 goals scored. He is deficient on that by a total of 9 goals. That is the second worst deficiency number in expected goals goals minus your expected goals. He's a -9 in that. Only one player in the NHL has a bigger negative gap between their goal totals and their expected goal totals, and it's Zach Hyman of the Edmonton Oilers. So, interesting one, though. Barrett Hayton, in terms of dangerous scoring opportunities and getting a lot of them, he gets more of them than any other player on the Utah Hockey Club up to this point in the season, according to the advanced stats. How crazy is that? Pretty interesting. I wish that more of them went in, and it's an interesting thing to think about because the difference between him only having 17 goals versus having the 26 goals, it puts Barrett Hayton into a totally different stratosphere in terms of the kind of player we think about him as. If he is on pace with 26 goals this year, this is a player that they have playing center at like $4.5 million a year. That instantly like doubles his salary. Right now, he's like earning his salary kind of at the right clip. The question is like, you know, if he could finish to the level that the expected goals number says that he ought to be finishing at, he would make like twice the money. It's crazy. Crazy thing to think about. So Barrett Hayton, he's having a good year. He just needs to find a way to get better at finishing. On that, second in expected goals is Clayton Keller. Clayton Keller has 23 expected goals. He has scored 24. Nick Schmaltz, 19 expected goals. He has scored 16. Dylan Guenther has 18.7 expected goals. He has 24. That's one of the higher positive, and it's not a deficiency, but positive correlations in terms of they are scoring way more goals than they are generating chances to score, good high danger chances to score. And so that tells you his shot, his finishing is super good, like really good, because he is putting more pucks in the back of the net than the average player would, having taken the shots that he has been taking. Also true for Logan Cooley, 14.8 individual expected goals. He has 19 this season. So, interesting thing just to take a quick look at these players that are kind of upside down and good finishers of the puck versus like right on track. Interestingly enough, Jack McBain, 12 expected goals, individual expected goals. He has scored 12 expected, or he has scored 12 goals this year. So, really interesting to take a look at that. Really makes you consider how close Barrett Hayton is. We are talking about a player who was a top 10 draft pick, had some bad luck early in his career, has had injury issues, had COVID screw around with his development, and get right in the way of him playing whole big seasons, and then he had injuries, and so he's missed years of play. And this year is really his second season having it not be super interrupted by like injury or COVID or world events or whatever. He has been able to play a lot, and his game is coming along. This is a player whose pedigree is really quite high, and I look at Barrett Hayton, and in a lot of ways, if Utah wants to jump a couple steps forward and skip some of the process, he needs to be the guy that surprises us and turns into a bona fide, no question. He's a guy. If you play him as a 1C, something's not quite totally there. Now again, if he finishes, then he's definitely there. He's definitely a 2C. He's not really a good third-line center at this point, but it does seem like he's a pretty solid 2C, but he's not. Yeah, I mean, you need more out of him if you're going to be a cup chasing. I do not think that one of the contenders would want a Barrett Hayton as their second-line center. But for Utah right now, he is a second-line center. He needs to, develop and become more dominant when he's on the ice and have periods of time where his play and his influence is super noticeable. It shouldn't be a surprise to everybody or a thing where if you ask who has the most expected goals, it's a surprise to everybody when it's you. Your play should be noticeable in very loud and clear ways, and that just doesn't happen that often with Barrett Hayton. So frequently it's just tip-ins and that stuff, and he does a lot of that good hard work, but he is not, I don't know if he's like a little undersized for his style of play. I don't know. But something's not quite there. He's made a tiny step forward, and maybe if he gets 2 more years of progress as we go on we'll see what happens with Barrett Hayton. He enters next year on an expiring contract. So those are a couple of things we think about tonight. They get the win over Buffalo. They take care of business like they needed to against the Buffalo Sabres. The kids continue to lead the way for this team in the biggest moments of the year. We are seeing positive responses by Logan Cooley and Dylan Guenther to some of the adversity that they're facing. And tonight was the return of Matias Maccelli to the starting lineup, and he looked good. He looked fresh. He looked like a player who had been sitting around for like 13 games and had come back and was looking really fresh and energized and had a point to prove and put pucks towards the net. He looked effective. It's an interesting look for the fourth line to be Stenlund and Kerfoot and Maccelli. And Maccelli, part of the issue for him tonight was that he was making really good plays. He had a couple great passes, but those passes kept being intended for like Oli Mata and Ian Cole, and these aren't your finishers, right? So he likely did enough to probably generate a goal or an assist had he been on a higher line, had been playing with more class, or just the way that the way that it worked out was that his targets just continued to be like Kerfoot and Cole and Mata, and these are not goal scorers. So he continues to be this guy who has a strange fit on the team, but like again, as we've covered hundreds of times on this, it feels like he's not a player. He's a player who has top 6 skill, but he is not breaking into the top 6 of Utah Hockey Club, because you are not kicking out one of our top 6 right now in favor of Matias Maccelli. Not until he puts in work on the fourth line, and you're not breaking up that third line group as it currently stands. So, but he's back in the lineup. He had some jump. He looked effective out there while he was on the ice, and it was good to have him back. And then the last bit, it was great to see, again, in terms of the maturity of Logan Cooley and his game coming along. One of the huge things that we saw from him tonight, in a more direct and clear way than we have at any other time this season, we saw Logan Cooley take people's cheap shots and stand up for himself and go to work out there. And he continues to be a player who... It's like a fun subplot of the season that he just kind of gets under the skin of the other team. Every game, there's somebody coming after Logan Cooley, and I think part of it is he has shown that he's a little feisty and willing to kind of get into it. But he and Clifton collided. They got together. He took a couple shots. He gave a couple shots. His jaw didn't look so great when he was sitting in the box, and came out and continued to skate his butt off and play really, really strong hockey. So again, continue to be impressed with that 20-year-old. And really, as a Utah Hockey Club fan, the notion that we get to watch a player as good as Logan Cooley for like the next 10 years. Hopefully they get that extension done. He did call us the best fans in the NHL. We did it. After 70 games, we're there. 69 games, we're there. We are the best fans in the NHL. But I am absolutely pleased to see him find ways to get under the skin of opposing teams. And also, I am absolutely thrilled to see him handle himself and not just be the sort of star player that plays as like the damsel in distress. You know, we see him being willing to handle business for himself. Now, I hope he has a career as good as Evgeny Malkin, but I hope he also doesn't develop the play style where you can goad him into the penalty box. But tonight, even though he was goaded into the penalty box by Clifton, that's a trade Buffalo will take every single day of the week. We'll get rid of Logan Cooley. We'll get, you guys have to take Logan Cooley out. We'll take out Clifton. Like, that's a trade that Buffalo makes all the time. Their fans must have felt that was a worthy and good trade, and they're happy with Connor Clifton for that. The thing is like, I also just think that we've been worried all season about having Jack McBain on a line with Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley because somebody needed to be on the ice to take care of these kids and save them from the big bad wolf, right? And maybe not. Maybe not with Logan Cooley. Maybe he is getting bigger and stronger, and maybe this offseason, he's going to put a little more muscle on, and he'll continue to skate as fast as he can, play in his style where he's got such an active stick. He's just annoying in so many ways, and, there's been this just terrifying fear. Yeah, I see that, Scott. Yeah, they got to make sure Spicy Tuna's on the bench because they got to send out a guy that can go eat punches and lose a fight to make sure that, if somebody wants to mess with Logan Cooley or Dylan Guenther, we've got somebody there that can handle themselves in that circumstance. Utah Hockey Club has too many of these guys. Schmaltz, Keller, there was a fear. Guenther is this, right? But maybe Logan Cooley isn't. And that is a big, big, big development if that turns out to be the truth. We don't want him fighting. We don't want him in the mix of it. But to not have another player on this team that cannot stand up for themselves, that can't, who is a star of the team, who needs to be saved all the time. It's good if Logan Cooley can develop the personality of, you can take your cheap shot at me. I'm going to get up, but, you're not going to like playing against me, and it's going to continue to be that way, and there will be direct retribution if you do those things. And he held his own. So I think it's a good development. I think that's a good thing for us to learn down the stretch of this season. It's a good thing for us to see that Logan Cooley will not be that. I think we're seeing that he's just not going to be that. I think he has a little bit of edge to him, a little bit of attitude. He was a teenager entering the season. He's 20 now. Of course, physically he's overmatched against these other guys in the NHL, but that is not going to be the case long term, and that is a giant, giant development for Utah Hockey Club. I was a little nervous that it may always be that way, but it does not look like it will always be that way. He's got a little dog in him, so we like that. He can play a little rough and tumble hockey. So it's a great thing to know and a great thing for us to learn as it relates to the future of the Utah Hockey Club. And that is Logan Cooley, who was the best player tonight in the game in which they win 5-2 over the Buffalo Sabres, thanks to a game-winning goal by Dylan Guenther, following a opening goal by Logan Cooley. A goal that came from distance on a wrister that went through traffic by Mikhail Sergachev, and then two of the goofiest empty netters ever. Both include the Buffalo Sabres basically putting it into their own net. One was on a delayed penalty. It was wild. So that's the story, and we will wrap that up here tonight. They have the Tampa Bay Lightning next. Very strong team from the Eastern Conference. Tampa Bay, of course, we thank them for trading us Mikhail Sergachev. They now have J.J. Mosier, who would have been on Utah this year had the trade not occurred. And they have been playing Connor Geekie, who is the other piece of that. And then they will draft, I believe, in the second round, the last part of that trade. But it'll be Sergachev's first time playing against his old team, the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I believe Tampa Bay will be the last team in the NHL to play a game against the Utah Hockey Club. Utah has now played a game against every team in the league. There's 32 teams. Utah can play against 31 of them. We have played against 30 of those teams. Number 31 comes this Saturday, an afternoon day game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Huge spot. Got to find a way to get a win in that one. They need 2 points against Tampa Bay to continue their race to try to make up the gap to get into the wild card. Meanwhile, as we report on the other parts of the NHL schedule, the Calgary Flames will finish up their road swing. They play at the New York Islanders next. The Vancouver Canucks are heading in to go play the New York Rangers following their overtime loser point against St. Louis Blues tonight. And the Blues are on their homestand. They will continue to stack points because they are welcoming their rival, the Chicago Blackhawks, at home. So that is next on the docket. Obviously, losses. We want go Islanders, go New York Rangers, go Chicago Blackhawks, and go Utah Hockey Club. That is our rooting guide as we take a look at it. 4 points away from the wild card, as you note there, Car Wash. And, Utah sits at 73 points with 13 games remaining. We still think that the line that they got to get to is 91 points. So, again, with 13 games left, they got to go 9-4, minimally. 9-4 down the stretch. That would tie their best stretch of hockey they've played this season. So all they have to do is be equal to the very best stretch they've had all year. And then they can find a way in. So they're going to need to play some great hockey. They're going to they need to find a time for Karel Vejmelka to rest in there. It just has to be, unless he's Superman, unless he's just literally made of steel. They're just, he's had 13 consecutive starts. They pulled him out. He didn't play the second and third period against Edmonton. But other than that, he has been in for 60 minutes every single game, 13 straight games now. He will be playing against Tampa, I would bet, on Saturday. So we will see. We will see how Veggie holds up. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. If you've enjoyed tonight's After the Buzzer, give us the little thumbs up below, the little I like this stream. I appreciate that. It helps people find us, find out that we exist. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel before, I suggest you do so. We are here after the buzzer for nearly all Utah Hockey Club games. And we love talking about this new franchise. This is the place for Utah Hockey Club fans. We have a great time talking about it and try to bring you a lot of my thoughts of the things that we're observing and thinking about with this team and their long-term future and success in the NHL. Hopefully one day they will be lifting up Lord Stanley's Cup. And we are part of the journey for all of that. When it happens, those of us who've been here after the buzzer, following every single Utah Hockey Club game, it will just mean more to all of us than it will to everybody else. There's just no question about it. I see it in our future. There's lots to build on. There's players to love and growth to occur for this team. So we'll watch that with anxiousness. We are trusting Bill Armstrong's process, and we are in the middle of enjoying what the goal of this season was right now as they are in the playoff hunt, as they chase the second wildcard spot in the Western Conference. That is it for tonight's After the Buzzer. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you on Saturday when they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Go Utah Hockey Club, and we will see you real soon.